What makes you angry? Well, whatever it is, make sure you don't bring it to the road. Today we will be looking at idiots on the road with a mixed variety of drivers who can't seem to let their anger issues go. Let's jump right into it. These guys managed to get on the nerve of this pickup truck driver, and they did it a little too well. The angry driver zooms past them in rage and ends up flipping his truck over as a result of losing his cool. Already stuck in traffic, you would be frustrated enough already, and if that wasn't enough, this biker was constantly getting honked at by this driver. The biker then shows him that he probably messed with the wrong person. Speaking of which, this guy sure did just that when, during an episode of Road Rage, the other driver breaks out a bat and starts swinging it at the poor car, breaking everything he could get his eyes on. This time, a biker gets in the receiving end as he made the mistake of smashing the car's mirror and not speeding off, resulting in him taking a tumble off his bike. After cutting this driver off, this Honda driver has the audacity to start brake checking the guy, who in turn shows him that it was a mistake that he made and fought fire with fire. These two had a little ego battle and rocketed off together to see who can cut who off, and the Mercedes driver lost the battle as he crashed into a stopped car at the signal. Collateral damage for someone else's road rage is just silly. On the other hand, we have stupid people like this driver who does not let the biker filter through the lanes and then brake checks the poor guy, almost causing him to fall off, but he answers back with a punch. Things got heated between these two as well, and the girl in the Dodge Charger tried to scare this driver by swerving towards him. You can clearly see that she got a little too afraid and almost crashed as well. During a little meet and greet, someone ticked this truck driver off, and what came next is nothing short of a circus show. Someone latched onto the side of the truck, and that did not turn out nice. These posts have literally no use because people are too blind to see what is ahead of them anyway. If once wasn't enough, another driver did exactly the same as the man making the video. Sometimes high horsepower doesn't mean anything when you have the driving skills of a rookie, and this clean Corvette got into the hands of such a person just to end up getting wrecked. Here's another such scenario, but this time we have our usual Mustang driver doing their usual stuff, and that is crashing. For some odd reason, this driver gets cut off by a Renault driver who instantly brake checks them, only to end up getting hit in the back. At this point, why even try defending yourself? Speeding thrills? Sure it does, but only when you have the skills to pull everything off. In the case of this sort of driver, it also kills sometimes, and he should be lucky that he managed to save it at the end. Looks like someone was caught coming down the wrong way, and rightfully so. They were forced to back up the right way, all the while being screamed and hurled abuses at. You go, girl, we see you. During a terrible takeover in a parking lot, an idiot swinging his car around smashes right into another car and makes a run for it afterwards. The other driver hopelessly gives up the moment he steps out. A driver decided to show off his drift skills in the middle of the street, but gets humbled as soon as the cops see him. Or that's what we thought until you see what the cops get themselves into as well. A red truck driver forces his way in front of this car like the idiot he is and ends up ramming the cars together. When he comes out, he forgets to put the brakes on in his little fit of rage. This driver, on the other hand, was bullying a car on the freeway, only to end up finding out that it was actually a cop. All it took was a bit of flashing reds and blues, and the rascal managed to make an easy escape. A poor Porsche got into the wrong hands, and at first the driver backs his car into another car and hits it. After that, he floors the gas pedal and goes crashing into the traffic ahead of him. It seems that the white van driver did something really stupid for the other driver to be tailgating them like this. You can feel the anxiety and pressure just by looking how closely he's driving behind the van. Off-roading is not meant for everyone, and this girl hits the brakes a little too hard and goes sliding into this little climb. That right there is probably a broken axle, if you ask me. The pickup on the right side gets angry for some reason and hits on the brakes to brake check the car behind him, only to end up spinning out of control and smashing his car in the process. Cops can be seen chasing down a driver who is in no mood to stop. After seeing this, the truck driver does them two favors. One, he stops the car by squeezing it against the railing, and two, he takes the door off for the cops for easy access. The black SUV in the front of the semi-truck makes a really bad mistake by blind diving into the off-ramp of this highway and hits another SUV that was just passing by, causing it to flip like a rag doll. Always keep your eyes on the road because you never know when the car in front of you might stop, and even though this guy was careful about it, the idiot behind him was not so vigilant, causing a multiple car pileup. A pickup SUV can be seen backing up out of the parking lot, so this guy decided to be a bully and tries to block their path for no reason at all. Was this rage justified? Let us know in the comments. People in the European area need to be extra careful while overtaking someone because their roads are already tight, and pulling a stunt like this can have disastrous results. This lady takes her sweet time to get out of this parking lot, and when she finally does, she forgets to put the car in drive and mistakes the R symbol for race instead of reverse. The car in front cuts off the white car and does not indicate the turn with their signal or use their mirror. Luckily, karma caught up to them in the form of a digger that blocks the way and causes a crash. If you have the stupidity to crash into someone like an idiot, then at least have the respect or guts to stop and exchange information rather than running off like this person. Here is a terrible idea which seemed like a good one for these two drivers. How about you make a turn from the middle lane without even seeing behind you? One of them got lucky and the other one not so much. This brain-dead driver forces his way into this lane out of the blue and almost pushes this driver into the divider line. You can still see them getting all riled up about a mistake they made themselves. A driver can be seen jumping out of his car in full mood to throw some hands. He hops towards the car and after a few moments can be seen running from the karma police who saw everything happen in front of them. A pair of road ragers can be seen dishing it out in the middle of a road in broad daylight, treating their cars like bumper cars, smashing into one another one by one. Do people have no care in the world for their insurance? A driver tried to force his way into a lane after theirs was closed for road work, and they got humbled instantly when the truck driver showed them who's the boss. After a while, the trucker used his rear bright lights that were probably built just for moments like this. The driver of this crossover tries to bully a truck driver for no reason at all and did not realize that the trucker was prepared to take them on. He gave the driver a taste of his own medicine and he didn't like it. But we did. On the other hand, we have this pickup truck driver who decided it would be a nice idea to brake check a heavy semi-truck. Their plan did not go as planned though when the trucker nudged them ahead. Sometimes you just need to shut up and sit tight in your seat, especially when you're not a driver and decide to throw a fit of rage. Talk about friendly fire, am I right? That was almost comical. A red light runner honks back at this driver after violating the law himself. However, the law has eyes everywhere, and cops show up to the scene to pull the idiot over right there and then. Talk about instant justice. The driver of this car was already halfway into the other lane after seeing road work ahead of them, but the driver behind still did not want to let them in. Amazingly, the idiot forgot to see ahead of them and rear-ended another car instead. On the other side, the driver of this blue car tried switching lanes at the wrong time and was not even across the lane divider lines, but still managed to cause a scene. This scene, however, attracted the right sort of attention. You be the judge for this one, because I think the camera car driver was being a total Karen and was already behind the other car, but they too overreacted out of rage and ended up hitting their car into the pole. Looks like people own all the roads and can switch lanes whenever they feel like it. This driver gets hit while doing just that, but the real law arrives on the scene to get their heads straight. A yellow truck driver pulls out at the wrong time and almost hits multiple cars. The camera car honks at him, and that is too much for him to handle. He hops out of the truck, but forgot to check what gear he was in. People can be very petty sometimes, as this driver meets an angry one who got mad for them passing over. The idiot speeds up from the shoulder and brake checks the driver, but luck was not on their side. This poor biker is met by a driver that seems to have something against bikers. He almost runs him over and then swerves all over the road trying to hit the biker off. Here's another brave driver that thought their car could compete with a big semi-truck in a brake-checking competition. The driver brakes right in front of the truck and gets rammed in the back, and rightfully so. Here's another bunch of raging drivers that turn their cars into bumper cars, smacking each other off the road, and one of them even gets on top of the concrete dividers. How do people manage to conjure up the guts to do stuff like this? Next up, we have this black car and the white van playing a very dangerous game of who cuts who off the most in rush hour. Looks like the car is winning for now, but we all know that both of them are losers in the end. This driver picked on the wrong group of bikers to bully around on the road. Now, one thing I know for certain is that bikers know not to mess with someone unless they're really asking for it, because it's more dangerous for them. However, Danger is this guy's middle name. Aren't you just tired of people using the wrong incoming lane to get ahead of everyone? Well, this guy came up with the right solution and forced everyone out of the way one by one. Here's a mean driver who started racing his car down the water, splashing everyone who was standing there. As he went on, however, the water became much deeper. This car gets brake checked by someone for no reason, but they didn't have to react in any way, as a biker came along and taught them a lesson for it as they cut him off as well. Not all heroes wear capes, some wear helmets. Watch this guy force his way into this line of cars and then act like he's in the right. That dash cam might be held against you in court, buddy. California has no law against lane splitting, and this biker gets cut off by a lady who causes him to rage his helmet off and smash her mirror. Patience is key, and this driver has zero patience inside them. He decides to go around the shoulder and ends up making probably the biggest mistake of his life. Some people get so engulfed in flames during rage that they forget that they're the ones behind the wheel. The same happened with this stupid person who thought arguing is better than driving. Do you think karma got delivered to the wrong person in this one? Because he was in the right as far as the law is concerned, but I guess at this point he did break the red light. The people of these two cars decided to hang out of their windows to make sure they get their messages across to each other during a road rage episode. What came next was probably something they brought upon themselves. The next time you brake check someone, make sure it's not a person that cares less about their car and more about hitting you off the road. This driver apparently cut a charger off, and the driver of that car tries to make a turn around them, but goes too wide and out of control, hitting the cars waiting at the signal. This biker came across someone who had almost made a house on the biking lane. They calmly tackle the angry guy, and help finally arrives in the shape of cops who take over the situation for him. Even if your light is green, just make sure to slow down on intersections, as there are still some idiots that will run through them. Talk about a near miss. A car merges onto the road in front of this driver, who makes sure to get them as angry as possible by smacking the horn. Sometimes it's just better to be the bigger person and let these idiots do what they do. A truck driver almost hits a car while changing lanes, and the brainless driver even hops out of the truck to confront the other person. However, it turns out to be someone who knows how the law works. If you ignore drivers like these who get angry the next chance they get, they just might end up self-destructing on their own. Here's a prime example of just that. As it turns out, the cam driver almost cuts the white Ford Ranger off, and he is not having any of it. The Ford driver begins tailgating him by almost gluing themselves on the bumper. But when it comes time for them to stop, it takes a bad turn for the Ford. When you see someone doing something stupid on the road, just be like this guy. Enjoy your food and keep driving, as they might end up ruining everything themselves. A road-raging driver throws coffee at the beautiful NSX for some odd reason, and again, like some of the previous drivers we've seen, they forget they were driving the car. The silver pickup truck is trying to have some beef with this biker by not letting him pass and cutting them off again and again. An answer was in order, and it was delivered perfectly. Similarly, this crossover and the semi-truck in the front were trying road rage this time, and things did not go as planned for the both of them. This biker almost gets run off the road by a blind driver who is maybe even sleepy. He makes sure to wake them up by smacking the mirror shut. Here we have another near miss, and I don't get why drivers wait for you to get as close as possible before pulling out. Sometimes these idiots meet on the roads, and these encounters can be very hilarious to witness in person. Here's another driver who pulled out in the wrong time, and Lady Karma instantly came into action and grabbed his car's wheel for him. When flashing lights didn't work with a lot of honking, the driver of this car came around and brake-checked the semi who was occupying the fast lane for ages. If you're gonna break the law, at least make sure that there is no eye watching you, specifically the eye of the law. These guys were so fixated on their little race that they failed to see the giant speed bump right in front of them and went flying. Here we have another driver that makes a sudden turn from the wrong lane without looking into the side mirror.